A major trade crisis is unfolding between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. President Donald Trump has officially confirmed that starting March 4, 2025, a 25% tariff will be imposed on most imports from both countries. Additionally, Canadian energy products will be hit with a 10% tariff. These sweeping measures are designed to pressure Mexico and Canada into taking stronger action against illicit drug trafficking. But the consequences go far beyond just trade. This decision could reshape supply chains, raise prices for everyday goods, and strain economic ties between North America's largest trading partners. How will this affect businesses, consumers, and the overall economy? And what can companies do to prepare? Let's break it all down right now. To understand what's happening, let's break down the specifics of these new tariffs. What's included? A 25% tariff on most imports from Canada and Mexico. A 10% tariff specifically on Canadian energy products. These tariffs are being introduced as part of President Trump's renewed strategy to combat illicit drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl, which has been a major issue in the U.S. for years. Why now? President Trump argues that Mexico and Canada are not doing enough to prevent the flow of drugs across U.S. borders. By imposing heavy tariffs, the administration aims to pressure both countries into stepping up enforcement measures. With over $1.5 trillion in annual trade between the US, Canada, and Mexico, these tariffs will have massive implications. Industries most affected: automotive. The US auto industry relies heavily on Mexican parts and labor. Tariffs will make vehicles more expensive to produce, leading to higher car prices for consumers. Agriculture and food imports. Mexico supplies a huge portion of fruits and vegetables consumed in the US. A 25% tariff will mean rising food costs in grocery stores. Energy sector: Canadian oil and gas companies face 10% higher export costs, which could lead to higher fuel prices in the US. Potential business disruptions. Many companies operate integrated supply chains across all three countries under the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. The sudden tariff increase will force businesses to restructure operations, seek alternative suppliers, or absorb rising costs. Consumers will feel the impact of these tariffs in several ways. First, higher prices on goods. Everyday items imported from Canada and Mexico, including electronics, clothing, and appliances, will cost more. Food prices will increase significantly, especially for fresh produce like avocados, tomatoes, and berries, which are heavily imported from Mexico. Next, rising gas prices. With Canadian energy exports being taxed at 10%, expect higher fuel prices at the pump. Airlines and transportation companies will pass these increased fuel costs onto consumers, affecting travel costs as well. Lastly, economic uncertainty. The possibility of a trade war looms, which could lead to job losses in industries that rely on cross-border trade. How are Mexico and Canada reacting to these tariffs? Diplomatic negotiations. Both Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum have vowed to fight these tariffs before they take effect. Officials from both countries are in urgent talks with the White House to negotiate a compromise. Possible retaliation. Canada and Mexico could respond by imposing tariffs on U.S. exports, which would hurt American farmers and manufacturers. If negotiations fail, we could see a trade war that disrupts economies on all sides. With these tariffs fast approaching, what can businesses do to prepare? First, diversify supply chains. Companies should explore alternative suppliers outside of Canada and Mexico. Some businesses are shifting production to other regions like Vietnam, India, or Latin America. Second, price adjustments and cost planning. Many companies will need to adjust pricing to account for rising import costs. Importers may stock up on products before March 4th to avoid immediate tariff impacts. Lastly, engage in trade policy advocacy. Businesses should lobby policymakers to renegotiate tariffs and prevent long-term damage to North American trade. The countdown to March 4th has begun. The impact of these tariffs could reshape North American trade, affecting businesses, consumers, and the entire economy. If you want to stay informed about these critical trade updates, subscribe now to US Trade and Tariff Watch and turn on notifications. We bring you daily trade insights so you can stay ahead in an ever-changing global economy. Hit that like button and drop a comment below. What do you think about these new tariffs?